There are an infinite number of ways I can show you how the way you see money, the way you do business, the way we choose to buy black or not buy black, all of that links back to the universal language of love. You know, and if you understand love, then you can understand investing, you can understand risk return, you can understand all of that. So financial lovemaking was just kind of like a fun little exercise. Yeah. You know, so a lot of couples will read it to talk about how they can merge, because that's the thing. Black people, unfortunately, because so many of us are traumatized and have that distrust, we have a hard time loving each other. And the way a love relationship works is the same way an economy works. When you don't have trust, then you don't have exchange. Right? Like if you get a business and I'm a consumer and I don't trust you, I'm not gonna give you my money, right? Or if you're a business and you don't trust me as a customer, then you're not gonna treat me. You're gonna treat me in a way that's not gonna make anything good come out of that relationship, right? You know, in fact, you have a lot of black business owners who say, I don't sell nothing to black people because black people, they always asking for the hookup. They ain't never got no money. They don't never pay on time, right? That lack of trust, right? Well, that same lack of trust that we have that keeps us from buying black is the same lack of trust that we have that keeps us from maintaining our marriages. It's the same lack of trust that causes so many of these young ladies, unfortunately, to have a baby and the daddy's gone before the baby even turns 1 month old.
A lot of women are using sex as payment. Again, I asked somebody one time, you know, if you go on a wonderful date with a guy and he pays $100 for dinner and he pays for a $15 movie ticket, but then he expects you to go home and have sex with him, and you do, who paid for that date? Who really paid for that date? I feel like a lot of women think that these guys are out here paying for the dates, but they're paying for a man's attention, which is almost worse than paying for the date themselves. You're better off getting your wallet out on the date and paying for both of y'all.
Right. So you're gonna tell me, as a young man, that my body's going through these natural changes, and I'm starting to desire a woman, and it's as natural as it is to feel the desire for a woman, I need to suppress that and wait till I have a certificate to say now we can have sex? That's ridiculous, Mr. Peterson.
Which do you prefer for your sons, to wait until marriage or before? As a father,
I would prefer them to do, because they're gonna have the knowledge.
You prefer them to wait?
No, I prefer them to do whatever they feel like they're comfortable with.
But you would recommend what?
I would recommend them doing what they feel is comfortable, because they're under the tutelage of their dad, who gives them some great guidance. So
right.
They wouldn't be doing anything in unknowingly. So if they did it, I wouldn't be mad at them, Mr. Peterson. But what about you? How do you feel about it, Mr. Peterson?
If they did, they would be controlled by the woman, because women are sex dealers and men are sex addicts. And that's why men are controlled by women, because the women just serve as them what they need and they have control over them. Have you noticed that?
No, Mr. Peterson.
You were controlled by women when you had sex out of wedlock.
I was controlled?
Uh-huh.
Maybe I missed that part of it because I never felt shackled. I always felt like I had the freedom.
But you also felt like you had to have it.
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with
that
the woman.
That was control.
That's a personal thing.
You were an addict.
At 15, I was a sex junkie?
If you felt like you had to have it, yeah. It's no different than a drug addict.
You're more than a pastor.
Have you ever thought about that?
You're a therapist.
What do you mean?
You just diagnosed me. I was a sex junkie at 15.
Did you know that before today?
I never knew I was a junkie.
So what is it like finding out?
I'm starting to scratch now.
Interestingly enough, each time in the Bible when a man took on an extra wife, it caused problems and actually ended up oftentimes dividing his home. We can look at Abraham and his 2 wives. We can look at Jacob and his 2 wives and his 2 concubines. We can look at the interesting story in 1 Samuel between a wife named Hannah and another woman named Peninnah. So clearly each time somebody practiced polygamy in the Old Testament, it was some straight up drama and did not turn out well.
I believe that there is a way, because men love a challenge and men love mystery. And I think there is a way to be sexy and intimate without having sex.
Right.
And so there is a way. There is a way. You just have to take your time and be spontaneous, be sexy. You can be intimate in conversation, intimate in feeling, intimate in just being together.
Yeah.
And then as Steve's saying, just say, you know what, all of this feels right, but I just want to take a little more time and leave it at that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what's too long to wait. Marriage is too long to wait to have sex with somebody. It is absolutely too long. An average gauge might be like a 3 to 6 month period. But look, I was just talking to one of my clients the other day, and she waited to have sex with her husband after they got married. Now, they was so daggone horny, so they met, dated, fell in love, got married, all within a year. But now she has been miserably married for 3.5 years because she found out all kind of stuff about this fool that she didn't find out before they got married, because she was, the sexual tension was just so high. You know, I feel like you got to get that out the way, and then you can think clearly as a woman.
Well, I'm gonna go on back to the Bible. I think you should wait until marriage.
Lord.
Now, I didn't. But that was 25 years ago. That was another century, honey. They had Jesus and them out back then. So, you know, because so many diseases and I don't know what they have coming out, I'm gonna say, find out as much as you can, you know, build a relationship intellectually, and, you know, wait for marriage.
Sounds like pressure to me. So you say you want to be engaged, I get engaged. You say you want to be married within a year, we do that. We get married, then you make it seem like sex is a chore to your husband. Once again, I ask the question, why do women who push forth monogamy on the man they're dating then get overwhelmed when that man who tries to provide that monogamy to you? Why do you get upset when we're trying to be what you want us to be? You don't want me to be with no one else, right? Right? I'm asking. This is a serious question.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't want me to be with no one else.
Absolutely.
So if I decide that all this testosterone I have, I want to give to you, why is this so overwhelming now? This is what you asked for.
I'm not talking about rich, I'm talking about wealth, because wealth will set us fucking free, okay? Because wealth is empowering. Wealth can uplift communities from poverty, okay? A white man gets wealthy, he builds Walmarts and makes other white people have some motherfucking money. A brother gets rich, he buys some motherfucking jewelry, okay? Do you know what the fuck I'm talking about? I ain't talking about rich, I'm talking about wealth. Wealth is passed down from generation to generation. You can't get rid of wealth. Rich is some shit you can lose with a crazy summer and a drug habit. Fuck, Rick James was rich. One minute you're singing Super Freak, the next minute you're doing Old Navy commercial. Give it to me, baby. Give me corduroy.
All right. Welcome to the Power Trip Podcast. We're your hosts of the Thursday evening chat.
Yes. So I'm Charmaine, and this is Saquon for all of you guys who are new and joining us tonight.
Yes. Typically, the audience will be here right now, but can you go through our whole spiel?
Yes, you can. So if you don't know, every Thursday evening, we get together to discuss controversial topics surrounding family, relationships, and community. We have three main goals. One is to strengthen communication skills in our community. The second goal is to expand our perspectives to gain greater understandings. And last but most importantly, we want to build exceptional families that will continue to uplift the world around us. So to do that, we are going to discuss some topics, but first we want to introduce a special guest.
Yes, her name is Isaiah Mystic. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Asaya Mystic, yes.
Messiah Mystic. All right, sorry for that. Sorry for that. Messiah Mystic is a spiritual life coach and a feminine energy guide. She helps people become one with their highest self and currently launching a 6-month container called Activating the Goddess Frequency, which is helping women to turn their spiritual burdens into gifts that can empower them into relationships, well-being, and business. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I really, really loved that 10-minute intro. I was like laughing. I was like making some faces. It was good. It was like, ooh, this about to be a good conversation.
Thank
I'm
you.
ready.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there anything that we left out that you want to say about yourself before we get started and jump in the convo?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm like you said, I'm a spiritual life coach, feminine guide, and I am currently hosting oh my gosh, you guys, it's happening. Okay, my eyes start watering when I put on the
Oh,
wrong kind of mascara. So just let me dap my eyes real quick.
okay.
But yes, I am running or opening up my doors to a 6-month container for women, spiritual women, empathic women that are ready to take their spiritual and psychic energy to the next level and yeah, use it to empower their relationships, their well-being and their business, and get out of this stuck place, mentally, emotionally, physically. So yeah. And from before that gets started, because that's gonna start in March, I am doing a free 7-day challenge called the 7 Commandments of Love, which is going to start on February 21st. So if anybody wants to sign up for that, you can, and also book a free Lightning Self-Love coaching call with me. If you want to work through any resistance or blocks that you feel like you may be facing in getting to that higher self, getting into your higher self, into your spiritual superpowers.
Okay.
So
Perfect. And we will link her website down in the description below.
Yep.
Hi, Aunt Chi.
Hey.
Welcome, welcome. All right, so let's jump into it. And our first topic,
Sex before marriage.
sex before marriage. So, what are your thoughts on that? We'll let you go first.
okay. All right, sex before marriage. So as I was watching the 10-minute intro, there was a video clip you guys had in there that spoke briefly about, what do you think? Should a woman wait before she gets married to have sex? And I mean, interestingly enough, the question was directed more so towards, the feminine aspect than it was towards the masculine, because ultimately we're the ones who make the decision on how this whole process goes. So she said that, I don't want to wait too long, before I get to that point. Why do I have to wait too long? And I feel like for myself personally, growing up, the way I used to look at marriage, because my biological mother and father, they divorced when I was, like how they were talking about, I was just a baby. I was like a few months old, and they were, they went their separate ways. And from that experience and growing up with a stepfather and, visiting my dad and kind of like living these different worlds, and also seeing like the discord that my mom had with my dad, and the grudges that I felt like my dad was still holding against my mom. It was like it was a turn off. I got turned off from marriage. I did.
Okay.
And even in my mom getting remarried and having a new relationship with my stepfather, that relationship was my visual of that. It wasn't like, that was a turn off as well. So I'm like, look, not in none of these situations look fun to me. So my image and my ideal for marriage was something that was a burden, and it also felt like something that was going to chain me down from enjoying my life. And I think I was like 20, maybe, like I was like just getting into my 20s, and I'm like, I remember my dad asking me if I was going to get married and have children, and I was like, no. What do I need to do that for? Like, look what happened. Look what, you know, look what happened to you. I mean, no offense, Dad, if you're watching, but he was married 4 different times, and he had children 4 different times with each of those women, and it, to me, it was just like too much drama, right? But it wasn't until I understood the foundational aspects to marriage, versus the personal self gratification that we often look for, that I started to really understand why, and why it was important to be married before you have sex. So ultimately, the way I feel about it is, I definitely feel that a woman should be married before she has sex with a man. And I think that is something that is empowering versus almost like this kind of like sentence to hell. Like a lot of women can start to feel like that, because we are coming from an era where women were getting married because they had to get married in order to be financially secure, in order to have security. But from that, there was a lot of situations and scenarios where women felt like abused, that was being abused, like, because I can't thrive outside of you, you feel like you can beat me up when nobody looking, and play all of these emotional manipulative games that I also feel like on the masculine side was and is pushed onto melanated men, so that they can, not necessarily they, but so that the family cannot come together and be powerful. If the man is not, if he's not cycling that power, it's almost like a power dynamic that flows. And I talk about this in my book that's currently being published, The Great Woman Resurrected, how the chakra systems work in a flow, and how each chakra is masculine, has a masculine and feminine polarity. So like the root chakra is a masculine chakra. This is our security. This is our foundation. This is our survival. This is what gives. This is what gives first. And then from there, the sacral can thrive, and she can be creative. She can be flowing. She can be sensual. And then from there, that feeds the solar plexus, which is masculine, which is what makes the man want to go out and get it, want to go make things happen, want to get the bag, get what you need, what the family need. Like it's like even it goes even farther after, you know, she can flower and flourish. And so in that solar plexus area is where them games started to get played, right? And so the man has the power now. And what ended up happening is he has this power, but he started to become programmed by society, by mainstream society, that this power doesn't, you should not give this power back to your woman at all. If you do, she's gonna want to do this, she's gonna want to do that, you're gonna big up her head. I don't know honestly what be going on and what really actually gets said, but I come across every now and then the conversations, and I'm like, really? But the conversations to get had, and it doesn't have to be so blatant, but it's just this subtle programming of, if you empower your woman or you bring this solar plexus energy back into back to your woman, what's going to happen is you're going to fuel her heart chakra, and you're going to fuel the love, that unconditional love energy that is needed in order for families to thrive, for communities to thrive, for people to thrive. So once that power dynamic got cut off, basically where, you know, solar plexus wasn't fueling the heart chakra, women are like out here heartbroken. They're like, you cheated me. You know, you took from me, but you didn't give to me what I needed. Because that's kind of like, that's the cycle of the flow. That's the flow of energy. And when the solar plexus is fueling the heart chakra, then that's when it's like a shift can start to happen on the earth. Because the earth, and I'm about to go in deep, I'm about to get juicy, y'all. Tell me when to pause at any moment if you guys want to say.
1 second. Yes, I do want to say something. So, hey, everybody who is just joining us, make sure you give us a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not. So right now we are discussing, well, kind of a mixture of things, but the topic is sex before marriage. And we have a very special guest with us today, Isia Mystic.
Asaya, yeah.
Asaya Mystic. And my cousin says she loves your hair. She also has locks. So, but yeah, so continue. Go ahead. Get deep. And right now, she's talking about things from an energetic perspective, which, sorry to cut you off, I think is super powerful. And then after you finish what you are saying, I think it also connects to like a systemic outwardly, like it connects to kind of what they're doing, like you said, society is doing, which is causing this energetic turmoil. But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And so basically the heart chakra is it's a very important chakra here in this realm that we live in, that we call Earth. This Earth naturally resonates at a frequency of 432 hertz. And that's the frequency of love. So essentially, we all come here to experience love and pleasure. We all come here to experience that in physical form. And so when you are taking the fuel from that center by disrupting the harmony within the family structure, or I would say the energetics, masculine and feminine energetics within people, and you know, the way they relate to each other, if something happens on the earth actually that disrupts the harmony of everyone on this earth. So I teach in my programs and in my workshops that the Afro-Indigenous people of this earth are they're the nuts and bolts of everything that goes on here. When we do something, when we put our energy into something, it pops. That it doesn't matter what it is. If we make a song or if we start a trend, everybody all over the world is gonna start copying off of it. Everybody everywhere is gonna want to mimic what we do because we represent a source that is so primal to this planet that it's the original, it's the primordial energy. So when the heart chakra gets in this place where it's like, I'm not being fed, I'm hungry, it's like it blocks off. So that's when you start to get like the blockages into the throat chakra, which is being able to learn new things and being able to communicate effectively. This is when you start getting the third eye, depressions, anxieties, you know, uh, imagining things and creating things in your mind that are destructive and that are, they're not pleasant. This is when you start getting disconnected. This is when all this stuff starts getting projected into our society and into our lifestyle that is not productive to our well-being and our progress. So that's how I feel about sex before marriage. And I know that was a lot.
Yeah.
But
it's okay. We appreciate it. Hi, this is Chris. So I agree. And were you going to say something?
No.
Okay. So I definitely agree. I think that it's more beneficial to wait to have sex until after you're married before you have sex. And growing up, my mindset, I thought it because I grew up Christian, so that was what's taught with that religious belief. But then even like growing up and it's like, okay, well, no, but I love them and I'm going to marry them. So, we can just have sex now. Like, your mindset kind of changes when you think you're in love. And these are the things that your peers are telling you and the people around you. So then as a young, not even adult, because you're like under the age of 18, like, you start believing these things and you start confusing yourself on what's truly love. And like you said, with marriage, it's deeper than just love. So on one of our other episodes, we were discussing, should you get married, or is there a benefit to it versus just, living together, cohabitating in the house together? And, some people believed it's the same, other people don't. And a lot of people looked at like marriage as a business, which in essence it is a business. And with marriage, you have to have a goal. And for us, our goal is generational success. It's also self-development. Like we're not just in the marriage, because a lot of people say they love each other, but then they turn their backs on each other. So when you have sex outside of marriage, you're more prone to STDs. You're more prone to possibly having a child, and your partner, male or female, whoever, like it could be the guy who acts to take care of the baby or the woman. There's a lot of times where women don't want to take care of their responsibility and the man has to. So then that baby, unfortunately, has to grow up in a broken family system. And then like that clip we were showing in the 10 minutes beforehand, where she was like, well, my friend, she waited till marriage. So they got married quick because they had this sexual tension and they wanted to hurry up and get married, but they didn't take the time to get to know each other. So then after they got married, the honeymoon phase is over. Now it's like they don't know each other. Yeah. They have issues. So I think it's a lot of it comes down to self-control and self-discipline and being able to really just say, okay, I want to actually get to know this person on a deeper level than just sex. Because another thing she said in that clip, she was like, well, you don't know if you're going to have chemistry. Or was that? No, I think we watched a different part of the clip.
It was a different part.
Yeah, but so further on, this other lady was saying, well, you won't know if you have chemistry unless you have sex. Chemistry is not just sex. And so I think people get it confused. And we're also in this state where it's like women's liberation and like it's our body. No one should tell us when and how to have sex, which I agree. No one should tell you. But I do think there is definitely a pro to waiting until marriage versus having sex outside of marriage. There's a lot of risks that come with that.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I agree. There's pros to it. There are pros to it, but I think the thing that kind of just block it is, I guess, growing up, just thinking about that is being promoted at an all-time high, and therefore, when you get into a relationship, that's the priority. The is eventually making it to sex, and I guess being with them intimately, rather than wanting to get to know them, wanting to know them to a deeper extent. I don't think that's a priority at all.
I agree, and I think a lot of times for men too, it's something that's kind of ingrained in young men. Is like it's a competition on who can sleep with this woman quicker, and like it's like an ego stroke.
It's an ego one, yeah.
And then on the other side for women, when I was, not that I'm that old, but when I was growing up, it was thought of like you don't want to be fast, you don't want to sleep around, so you do wait, but you want to make like you don't wait. It wasn't told to wait till marriage necessarily, but it was more so wait until it's like you're in a committed relationship. But now I think the way society is currently, it's just, well, men can do it, women can do it. There's no negatives to it. But I think people also don't realize that there are truly spiritual connections when you are, physically intimate like that.
Yeah, you
with
share
someone.
a piece of yourself with someone.
Right. So to all of our audience, please let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. We would love to hear what you guys have to say. But yeah, so just based off the things that we said, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I feel like definitely now that from what I was mentioning before, how we were coming from an era where women had to be financially dependent on men, and pretty much if you didn't have a man, you were like like you didn't have nothing, like you don't have anything. So people think that was so long ago. Like that wasn't that long ago, So coming from the era, and then women going into this extreme where they're like trying to just completely break away from that, but they're going into an extreme where they forget what their power even is. And they're so much so trying to be equal to men that they don't realize that they will never be an equal to a man because they're not a man. So the point is not to be equal to a man and be able to have sex whenever you want to have sex, and be whatever, like go on a slut walk, and yes, you want to cultivate a pride in yourself, in your sensuality and your sexuality, but you don't want to be just trifling out, like just you have no principle. That's like you found this freedom, but you don't have any principle around your freedom. You think you can just do whatever you want, and that's childish, so I do agree that there is principle around what it means to be in your feminine energy and in your power, and knowing how to carry yourself in relationship to marriage and being in partnership and families, children. Really, it's like women had got to a point, and I learned this when I was in college. I was taking sociology classes and, gender studies and, different things like that. And there were a lot of women in those classes who were just, I mean, they were just angry, um, at men. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened. Like there was like two other guys in those classes that I took, and all of them used to just be in their chairs. Like every time a question came up, who wants to answer? I'm not saying nothing. Like I could just feel it. But there was one guy though who would always have the audacity to say something, right? And to express what was on his mind. And it was so cute because he was just so innocent. Like with it. Like he was just so like, this is what I feel and I'm gonna express it. And when I tell you, like almost every woman in the class would have a problem with it, even the teacher, I was like, this is some weird stuff going on. Like very, very weird. And I ended up befriending him because it was like they almost got to a point where they were like bullying this dude. Wow. And I'm like, y'all are taking this too far. Like whatever scar, and I'm not even gonna say whatever and be ambiguous about it because we know what the scar is. We know what, patriarchy and this hundreds of years of this programming of women being a lesser than a man has done. The feminine body is wanting to heal from that, but right now it's like in this extreme. And so what I'm wanting to do is pull that extreme, from getting too far in there and bring it back into its center to where it can see and be proud and take I don't know what's the perfect word, but really just love being a woman again. Love giving birth, love having children, love what that means, and it don't even have to just be physical things like that, or like cooking and cleaning and things like, because it's like so many women are like, I'm not cooking and cleaning. It's 2021, and I'm not saying that you should be cooking and cleaning. You don't have to do whatever you don't want to do, but it's like, let that go, let that scar go so you can center yourself and see how we can all move forward.
I definitely agree. I feel like, hey, everyone who just joined, please make sure you guys like the video, subscribe. We are talking about sex before marriage. I agree with what you're saying. I feel like it's not even like I agree that women, that we have trauma and things that we need to heal from, but I feel like the men too. Like I feel like we're being put against each other. So I don't feel like, it's just super, I'm not saying you're saying it's one-sided, but kind of when we were talking about it, even talking about sex before marriage, like you said, it's more so typically thought of the women should wait before marriage. And then it's usually like the men go, what is it?
Sow your wild oats.
Sow your wild oats, go and then, settle down. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the notion of men, should be more experienced and then settle down? Because, they say men have more testosterone. Men are typically always ready to go. And they always say too that like women, we're more emotional. So when we do have sex, it's more of an emotional experience versus a man. So that's why they say, like There's what they call women, like the lock, and men are the key. And they're like, you can put multiple keys in one lock, something like some foolishness. But but we're basically saying, like, you know how men can impregnate multiple women, but only one, a woman can only carry a child for 9 months, one at a time, or if they have twins or triplets, quadruplets. But anyway, what are your thoughts on the notion that men should sow their wild oats versus waiting before marriage?
I definitely feel like men are allowed to be, or I would say men, it's like virtue doesn't apply to men, or it's not even thought of when it comes to men. A lot of the programming that I was speaking of involves the programming around the nature of a man and what men naturally just do. And that's just what men do. And you should just let them do what they do because they naturally just do that. And it's like, wait, hold up. You're not, you're not about to just say that men are naturally wired to be promiscuous, be disloyal, be basically just these vile creatures. It's really it blows my mind how really literally people just be eating this up. But it's like men are given a pass for having no virtue whatsoever. So in that case, when it does come to men, I do feel like men benefit more from being the sole one wanting to be married before they have sex versus a woman. And I say that because a lot of how women and men are being raised, and the things that are being projected onto us is reversed. So when I was in college studying psychology, they were talking about how men are given a lot of, as boys, they're given a lot of freedom. They're told, be free, do what you do, be a boy. And as girls, you're given a lot of rules and restrictions. And you're told that you have to be this way, you have to carry yourself this way, you have to do this, you have to be that. And boys are just like, he's a boy, he's just let him do what he does. And really and truthfully, it's supposed to be the opposite way around. And I say that because women are we're creators. We bring forth the flowering. And we cannot flower if we are always being put into a box. We cannot become the essence of who we truly are if we're always being told that we have to be in a mimicking image of this person, of that person, of whatever a woman is supposed to look like. When being feminine, divinely feminine, is a sovereign thing. It's a sovereign energy. So women actually benefit from being given freedoms and being given the opportunity to experience her power and tap into her power. Whereas men growing up benefit more from structure and discipline and kind of like being brought through this I would say, like, it's like kind of like a fasting. Like, men need to have time away and they have to be put in positions where they have to be disciplined when they're growing, when they're maturing. And it's been completely reversed and people have just taken it on like it's normal, and it's not normal, and so that has a lot to do with why people feel like men can just be these imvirtuous, I'm making up words today, y'all, but they can just have no virtue and it's okay, So I do feel like men should be the sole initiators when it comes to getting married before sex. I feel like it is a man's responsibility. It's a woman's choice, but it is a man's responsibility to put that out there, and say, no, I'm not having sex with you if I'm not going to marry you, because you could get pregnant, and I want all of my children to be taken care of, to be provided for, to be straight. So if we're going to do this, it's got to be the right way. And that's coming from a sacred masculine perspective. What they're telling us, that it's okay for men to just be doing whatever they want, and it's all on you as a woman. You have to do this, you have to do that. No, that's not, that's
Yeah,
not balanced.
I
So
agree. I agree. Like after listening to it, I do. I mean, not even listen to it. Some other things kind of put it into my mind. I do believe that some of a lot of the power is in the male. If he was able to have self control a little bit more and be able to, you know, put that boundary there all the time, it would kind of lower, things because it's kind of like how I tell you, for some reason, when it comes to certain things, men have that power over women to kind of woo them in a way that could defy all of their standards sometimes. You understand?
Their logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was up to him at that time to have the value of sex before marriage, before he went to try to do that.
Yeah.
She should be the secondary boundary, to say, hey, nah, we ain't gonna do that. But he is the first, because what he holds is the key. He is holding the key. So, the lock does not put itself on the key. The key puts itself in the lock. Yeah.
Right.
Thomas says, I wouldn't teach my son any of the garbage about sex or relationships that my folks taught me. Also, I don't think sexual liberation is tied to the amount of people you sleep with. Thomas, I would ask you.
Agree.
It really doesn't. I mean, you don't get anything out of that. I mean, it's literally just a number at the end of it.
Yeah, well, they try to associate being sexually liberated with saying I can sleep with as many people because this is my body, this is me owning my sexuality.
True.
But loving your sexuality, sensuality, intimacy doesn't mean that you have to sleep with a whole bunch of people.
True. What are some of the, Thomas, and so the audience as well, what are some common misconceptions that you feel like parents may have taught children or you guys about sex or relationships that you didn't want to push down?
And while you guys are answering, I'll speak on certain things. So growing up, I hated double standards. I really did, because it was like, as a woman, and I didn't understand certain things until now. But as a woman, it's like, okay, well, no, you need to come in earlier because there's men out there who try to do things to you. We want to protect you. It was like we have to protect you. You are precious and you need our protection.
Mm-hmm.
But then for like my brothers, but for my brothers, like they could stay out late and, it was okay because they were men. And I'm like, well, men can hurt each other too. Like my mindset was just like, well, men can get hurt. Like, I may not get hurt,
Mm-hmm.
But I do understand the concept of like, as a woman, we're not typically physically stronger than men.
Mm-hmm.
And for one, being out late at night, especially when you're young, nothing really great is happening late at night when you're outside. So I understand the concept. And then also another thing that was said is, while a woman brings home the baby and the dad, he doesn't necessarily have to take responsibility if he doesn't want to. And I think it goes back to kind of what you were saying, where we need to have better standards for our men and for our young boys. Like they should have the notion, and this is the standard, like if you are going to be serious with this woman, you need to have a plan. You need to be thinking of actually having a life with her, not just this temporary self-gratification of, you know, my hormones are going, so I want to get this off. It's temporary, but the consequences of that temporary decision can be permanent. So I do agree that a lot of the things and rules are put on the women. And those are things that at first I didn't necessarily agree with all the way. I still don't like double standards fully. But I do get that as a woman, there are certain protections that I'm actually grateful for versus feeling like it is trying to like box me. That makes sense. But yeah, let's see. Okay, Thomas. What was I going to say? Here we go, Chinese spoiler. Thomas, you gonna read what he said?
Thomas says some of the garbage that he was taught were treat your woman like your tires, always keep a spare. Wow. Sleep with all the women you can possibly sleep with. Don't ever pass up on no opportunity to sleep with a new woman. If you do pass on some, then it might be something wrong with you. I found out.
Wow. Yeah. And so that goes back to kind of, well, so then that actually is deeper than ego, because now as a man, if that's what you're being pushed and taught, you feel like you have to do this or you're going to be judged.
Yeah.
So then is it kind of like a fear of also being judged by who you deem like the imagery of a man is?
Yeah.
You know?
And I guess it go back, it's not even what you really view as a man. It's insecurity sometimes. Because I would think about if somebody said, "Oh, if you don't do this, then something wrong with you." You get what I'm saying? I would put it in the sense where, you know, I had some friends that, you know, girls just, you know, it's like, why you not going for it, you know? And he wouldn't go for it, and then, you know, me and my friends would be like, "Oh, you know, you tripping, something wrong with you." You know, he's not looking at it. If he does take, you know, internalize that, I couldn't say that my friend would be looking at us as men and he's not.
True, but I guess I could see the insecurity part. I mean, on your guys' end, it would be immature and childish.
Yeah,
but on his end, if he's still not moving forward with it, it could still plant a seed of insecurity within him. Because all of his peers are saying this is what you should be doing.
True. That's true.
And Thomas said, my uncle got at least 50 pimp lines that he still says till today. And I used to internalize it. And it impacted me till wow. So then, tea time, do you feel like you took some time to kind of unwrap that?
Yeah.
And like deal with it so that that's not kind of your mindset?
Yeah, or whether the situation, did something kind of, you know, put you in the box to where you needed to realize something?
And everyone in the comments, you can answer just yes or no because you guys are quiet on the subject. But do you think that men and women, or men or women, should wait to have sex before marriage, until after marriage, excuse me?
And nobody's being judged. Probably most of us have already done it before marriage, so nobody's being judged. It's just a question, I guess.
We just want to know your opinion. Yeah, do you think you should wait or not? But yeah, so.
All right, so with all of that being said, right, I guess let's kind of go to a different one. What do you think, how do you think, well, not even, yeah, let me ask what you think so you can tell everyone. What do you think about polygamy and things like that? Because we watched one of your videos, so I was like, I want to hear what she think about it. And I guess now with that being said, also how do you see that tying in with sex before marriage? Like, do you think that even in a polygamous relationship that those women should be waiting until they're married as well?
I do think that. I think that if any man wants to have sex with you, or you want to put yourself in a predicament where you are going to be bearing children, those children need to be secure, period. There are too many women in America specifically that I know of that live in America that end up in homeless shelters, that end up on in all kinds of situations, who have children, not just one children, but I mean they have children, and they're just they feel so empty and so taken from. They feel broken. And so they're broke. They don't have anything. They don't manifest anything. They're not magnetizing anything because they've allowed these men to just kind of run through them energetically, and they're scrapping, having to really pick themselves back up. And a lot of women do. A lot of women do pick themselves back up, and they completely change their lives. They completely transform their scenario and become, multimillionaires, or just get into a much better predicament in life. But also notice these same women, they have this thing, they make sure, that situation doesn't ever happen again, especially with, men. So I think that it is, even in polygamy, women need to be secure. If they're going to be having sex, if they're going to be procreating. And even if, you decide that you just want to use protection or whatever like that, I still think that it is something that should be regarded as sacred, and if it's regarded as sacred, then a lot of these games that people be complaining about and really creating in their minds wouldn't exist. The baby daddy, baby mama drama, the child support back and forth, the whatever this, the drama, like it wouldn't exist if you would just be practical about it from jump. But the thing is, women have fallen so low in the self-esteem and self-worth area, to a point where, like, we're like developing ourselves and trying to remember ourselves. So to even have the audacity to tell a man that you need XY, he has to meet this such and such criteria before he even thinks about, going there with you, it's like, how dare you? I don't know if you guys saw that viral video with Kevin, whatever his name is, but that was like, if that didn't show you how much, you know, you could just say, oh, I just want somebody who makes as much money as me, and you get dragged for that. You know what I'm saying? It's some real, self-worth around the woman's energy, and also deprogramming around the men's energy towards what a woman and who a woman is in relation to you in life. So yeah, to answer your question, I definitely think that women should be married, even in the especially in a polygamous relationship, because this polygamy now has just gotten, over the past I guess decade or so, popular because of, people, specifically melanated people, wanting to get back to our roots and back to our own culture. They're like, okay, well, polygamy, we know that polygamy was something that we used to do. So we're taking an ancient practice and applying it to minds that are still hood rich. And I'm looking for the right words, but it's just, you trying to apply ancient practices to minds that are still polluted, with programming that a woman is supposed to be this to you, and this is how you handle her, this is how you treat her. And even in a woman's case, a woman is supposed to be a man's helpmate, a man's rib, and I'm supposed to listen to everything he says and in order to keep him and be docile and be meek, and so that I can keep him around. And neither of this works. Neither of this is balanced.
Okay, just really quick before you continue, I just want to read a few of the comments. Okay, so to the question on whether you should wait or not to have sex before marriage, we have one yes. However, they did not. And then, Thomas, when he was answering our question, you want to read that?
He said, what was it? When he turned everything around, he said, it was at the point that I realized that I'd never been faithful in a relationship, and further, I had even considered it. I had no examples of how to even go about it. So yeah, I did go and pack that.
That's great, Tea Time. I'm proud of you. And then Miss Shirley says, no, she doesn't believe you should wait before marriage. Chi-Chi says she has no opinion. People should check in with their hearts and with their intentions and do what they feel is true and right for them. I think there being love between partners is ideal, though. Hey, Mama J.
What's up, Mom?
Miss Juanita says, I think that the benefits of waiting until marriage is a choice everyone has to make for themselves, but definitely it gives women back their divine power in relationships that is lost when they don't. And then Booby says, my opinion has changed over the years, but like Chi-Chi said, I think you have to follow your heart. Also, everyone's story is different. Hi, Auntie Bibi.
What's up, Auntie Bibi?
Okay, so I think it's something that comes up a lot in our discussions, and it's the thought pattern. I feel like kind of like what you were talking about earlier, how like there should be principles and kind of not guidelines, but like structure, more structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think something that comes up a lot that I've noticed is that we all want to just like do whatever feels right for us.
Yeah.
Like I think the notion now in society is if this makes you happy, then do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then with that mindset, it's like, well, we're all like different things make different people happy. So like we're all just doing so many different things. But I feel like part of the lack of principle and structure and integrity causes a lot of destruction and trauma. So I don't know. I don't know. I feel like now we're just in a space to where we feel like tradition or principles or rules are are just too limiting. Like, do you see that? Do you feel that?
You think traditions are too limiting?
No. I think we're in a space where people feel that.
Think they are.
Like where people feel that like we all should just live our life the way we want to live our life with no, like there is no right or wrong. Everything is gray area. And we should just all do whatever makes us personally happy.
People feel as if that they should be able to do it, whatever it is that they want to do, as long as they don't feel like they're physically hurting you.
Right. And to an extent, it's like, okay, I agree. Everyone should be able to do whatever it is that they want. However, I do believe that certain guidelines and traditions or rules or principles are put into place for our benefit. And I think that now we're in a time where we just feel like these things, there's no benefit to them, or okay, they're there, we understand, but you just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just noticed that like when I with all the discussions that we have, and not to say that one like our way is just right and we know it all.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to open up this conversation and dialogue, but it's just interesting. That's just what I've noticed is that we're just in a time where it's like, no, do whatever makes you happy, do whatever you want, and that's it.
Yeah, we are, and I mean, people don't treat their kids like that. So they usually give them some type of standards and some type of foundation to kind of go forward.
That's true, and it's for their betterment. So let's see. Auntie Vivi says there's always consequences for whatever you decide to do. That is very true. Very, very true. And hey, everyone who just joined us, we're starting to get a lot more people in. please do us a big favor and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not. This is the Power Trip Podcast. We are your hosts, Charmaine and Saquon.
Today we're talking to Asaya Mystic. Am I saying that correct?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, he's good. I'm glad you said it.
Asaya Mystic. She's a spiritual and life coach. Right now we were going over sex before marriage, and we kind of just touched on polygamy as well.
Right.
What do you guys in the chat think about polygamy?
Yes. Do you guys think that polygamy should be allowed, and like, should it be legal? Because now we're, expanding a lot of what we consider marriage to be in America. So do you think that should be added to what is considered a legal marriage in America?
Yeah. And so from the things that you were saying, though, you believe that polygamy will help secure generational wealth for some women?
It definitely can. I think that it applies to polygamy. It can work for polygamy, and it can work for traditional marriage. It can work if that's the intention that you have going into it, then it'll work, but if your intention is, if like you were saying, how we're living in a time where everybody wants to do whatever they want to do. However, it's kind of like giving people free reign. Of course, people can do whatever they want to do, and you can experience whatever you want to experience. You can do whatever you want, but every experience is going to teach you something. It's going to teach you a lesson. You're going to go through the flames through your experiences, right? And so when you've gone through certain experiences and you learn certain things from those experiences, then you can use that and start building. You can use that and start creating structure. That's why the sign Sagittarius comes before Capricorn, the sign of experiencing and expanding and growing and learning. You have to do all of that before you can start getting ready to build what you're about to build for future generations. Like you said, there is a structure to the future and the foundation of families, right? So for your family to be secure, in the world, you have to be balanced in its opposite energy, right? Because Cancer rules, and I'm getting to astrology here because I'm an astrologist, but Cancer rules the area of the family, the fourth house. And you can't secure the family if you don't have no structure. If the father, which is the archetype of the father, is not balanced and you're not respecting the structure that has to be had, so that your family can be good, your nation, your people can be good. Your family is the people who are going to back you no matter what. That's your foundation. When you can't go out into the world and be in the world, your family is going to be there for you. They're your original healers, your original counselor, your original person that gets you ready to go back into the world emotionally, psychologically, right? And that area can be wobbly when you're not putting any energy or focus into how is the father archetype being upheld, how is the structure being upheld, how is the order being upheld. So I used to have, like I said, I just came to this perspective a few years ago, after going through my own personal experience, right? I have a daughter, and me and her father are not together. And I was with him because it was, I was in love and it was great, but nothing was being secured. I thought that it was going to be secured because of, love or whatever. But because these principles weren't honored of, no, this needs to be, we need to be married. No, these things need to be in place. No, we need to have this in order before we go there, because that father archetype wasn't, pronounced and defined, I definitely see like, okay, so now I'm a single mom. Now I am, learning, and I'm growing from this experience, but it's very real, like it's a very real, and it can also be a painful kind of experience when nobody is telling you or teaching you or giving you like, hey, you don't have to go through this. Like, you could just do it like this. What are people out here going through all this for if we can't say to our children, the next generation, this, hey, you don't have to do it like this, but I'm gonna let you know, you're gonna learn from me. You're gonna learn something. You don't have to do it, but at least if you go that route, you be like, dang, she told me so, you know. So I definitely feel like it's really about the intention that you have when you're going into it, and your love for the mother and father principle, and understanding how they work energetically and how they influence the future, the future generations, the future that comes through us. When I get to be in my 90s, 100s, up there in age, I already know, I already have in my mind and my heart that my children are going to be in a certain place in life, financially, mentally, emotionally. Like, I'm gonna feel like I failed if my grandchildren are like going through the same thing I went through, back in when Asaya was in her 20s. Like, what did I go through that for? So I definitely feel like it's all about intention, and especially in polygamy, in reference to polygamy, because I feel a lot of people are just using polygamy as, this way to be more conscious and to be more balanced, but they're not really understanding the energetics behind it. And hey, it's really, you don't need to be with multiple, like I know people who are wanting to be in expand their relationship and are in relationships, and they want to add on other women. They're like, hey, my husband, they're really, I feel deep down inside, I'd be feeling like it's just their husband that's polygamous. Like, if it was up to her solely, there would be no other woman. But because he's like, baby, we gotta be polygamous because this is what the ancestors did. She like, okay. So she's being like docile and meek again, like I said, and she's just absorbing it. And she's like, okay, I gotta find this other woman. I gotta find this other woman. And I think I might have hit on this a little bit in that, I mean, the video I watched, or maybe it was the polyandry video I made, but it really just ends up turning into people trying to find themselves and uh, again, trying to fulfill this emptiness through adding on extra people. And it's like, this cannot be done from an emotional perspective at all. This has to be done from a practical standpoint, because if you're wanting to add on other people into your relationship, it's a practical thing, right? In terms of polygamy, because this is the man adding on other women. This isn't the woman having more than one man. So it's got to be practical. So if women are going to be in polygamous relationships, they need to be secured. They need to be secured, and they need to be choosing men that are intellectually and also filled in that heart space. Not like they have a lot of solar plexus, but they want to take from your heart space, but they're fulfilled in their heart space, and they're coming from a place where they're giving. And so this is beneficial to the divine feminine, and this will allow her to flower in a way that is healthy for her, and not deteriorating to her.
Okay. Do you want to read? Okay. So Thomas says, I think polygamy can work. All relationships require a certain amount of work, and I'd imagine that a polygamous one would take a bit more to work successfully. Hey, Cousin Let. Hey, Cousin Alethea.
Hey.
And then Cousin Let says, shh, I need a wife for me, not my husband. But my kids said no, a big sister is enough. So okay. I guess if, like you said, if the intention is just solely power and finance, then okay, I could understand why polygamy would be beneficial. Because like how we had a discussion and you were saying that, it makes the man more powerful. Like he has more women, and especially if you think about it today, a lot of women are working. So a lot of men aren't necessarily just taking care of the home by themselves because women are working outside of the home. So if a man is marrying multiple women and all these women are working, they're all bringing money into the home as well, which is increasing the pot and helping build wealth in that aspect. And then also, if he can have kids with all of these women, then especially if he has boys, then it's, passing down that legacy. So if that's your only goal, then I can understand it. For me, no, I don't think it's optimal, especially if I'm thinking of it in a holistic manner, because there is a balance to everything. And so I think about a man splitting his time with multiple women. First of all, like if you're working and then you have to split time with, the women that you're married to. And then you also have to split that time with the children that you're raising. So how do you put in the amount of necessary time with all of that and have it thrive? And like you said, once emotions are involved, you're going to have people feeling like, oh, he's spending too much time with her, or, not enough time with me, or feeling left out, or, just the different dynamics there can be cracks in that foundation. Yeah. And then I also feel like, again, as a parent, how are you really putting in as much time with all of your children that is necessary for them to thrive mental, more than just the financial aspect of it?
And that would just be for the dad. But if all these women are living in the same household and things like that, how are these children being raised?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So to me, I think, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I was explaining the financial aspect of being in a polygamous relationship, when I visualize a healthy polygamous relationship, I visualize a man who has the status and the power and the energy, right? So we're talking about the solar plexus here. He has the beaming ball of fire of power and energy to give to multiple women. And in order for that to happen, I mean, women are being given to, they're being supplied, they're being supplied practically. Like when I mean the man, what his power center is going out and he's getting it and he's making money and he's doing this and he has the status, she's good. She doesn't have to go work. She doesn't have to do anything but be a woman, and whatever she decides to do, if she decides to have children, if she decides to build a business, if she decides to do X, Y, and Z, that's what I perceive as a healthy polygamous relationship. When men are going into polygamous relationships with the idea that women are like tools, like a loaded gun, or these power centers that they can get more powerful from, this is the imbalance of the solar plexus energy that I was talking about, where you're really looking to just make your life easier and take from these women, because why are these women with you if they still need to work to survive, to take care of their children? To me, that that doesn't make any sense. Like, why does she could be by herself, or she could just be, dating or whatever. So when I say when you're getting married, and you're securing yourself, and your children, that's what I mean. So, yeah, that's just what I wanted to clarify just right there, because, um, yeah, so that's what I meant in terms of polygamy and that dynamic that can kind of get skewed. And I feel like that has a lot to do with why it's so skewed now. I feel like women are just giving their power away to men, and they're not getting anything. Their children aren't getting anything, and we're going through this cycle. You know what I'm saying? You have, as a woman, you have a surplus of creative energy within you that can inspire a man to move mountains. Just one man. It don't have to be 10 or 20, but just one man. So why are 10, 20 women getting with one man and still having to do this, still having to do that, still, because they're giving all of their power away, their worth away to him? He's the prize. He becomes the thing that is so valuable. So that's when it gets off. So definitely the balance in being in polygamous scenarios. And again, I'm not talking from experience. I'm just talking from observance. I've never been in a polygamous relationship, but I have observed people who have been in polygamous relationships, and I see the energetic dynamics of what goes on when the women are unhappy and the men are, uh you know I would say all over the place, just promiscuous. They're doing this, they're doing that, they disloyal, they're lying, so that's when I do see balanced polygamous relationships. This is literally always the scenario. The women are they don't have to worry about nothing. They're good. And normally also these women are more tight with each other than they are with him. So that's also a scenario that I see when the relationships work really well. So yeah, it does give a lot of the power away to a man, and that that dynamic is not what I meant by financially being secure, securing generational wealth.
Okay.
Good.
Well, did you have a question? Okay, so with your coaching calls and things like that, and being that you will help women tap into that feminine energy a little bit more and kind of create that balance for optimal relationship with another man, right? How would you go about that? What are some things that you would talk to women about or teach them to kind of break into that energy?
So on my coaching call specifically, I want to see where women's resistance is to having a balanced relationship with themselves, honestly, because that's where it's all going to start from. That's all where it begins from. So I kind of just listen, and whatever comes up that I sense in regards to any resistance they have around themselves and living up to what their soul wants, it's like a distance from what they're telling themselves they deserve and what their soul really wants. And so I recognize that resistance, and I just bring it back together so it can be aligned with their consciousness, with their awareness, so it can be aligned with who they actually are being in real time every single day in the world with people. So in the coaching calls, I recognize the resistance, And I bring awareness to what needs to come into an alignment, and I bring up different methods and whatever really just comes to me. It's a very intuitive process for me, because I am a astrological reader and oracle. So a lot of what I do is also intuitive. So I'm going through this intuitive process with women to see where their resistance is, and I'm breaking it down. I'm shedding it away. I'm chipping it off, because naturally we are high vibrating beings. But a lot of the work is just chipping away at dead belief systems and things that we are believing about ourselves that isn't true. It's not a higher order truth, you
Right.
know? So that's the process that I bring women through on the calls.
Okay. Thomas says it takes a village, and the village is all in the same house. Okay. Chris, hey Chris.
What's up, Chris?
And then Thomas also said, plus a lot of folks out here in de facto polygamous relationships anyway, might as well move in together. So, but isn't that like a lot of people like hiding from the truth and like a whole bunch of distrust and confusion?
Yeah.
So if they're all in the same house, that's just bringing the confusion inside.
True.
Yeah. I think I did a video talking about that years ago, previous to the recent one I think you guys watched. And I mentioned that, I mentioned that people are saying, polygamy is gonna be the cure, but we already polygamous. Like people already got this side chick, that side dude who bring them food and all this. Like we already doing that and playing those games. So it's more so of definitely taking it out of this I'm gonna do whatever I want because I can place, and bringing it into I'm aligned with my community, I'm aligned with my family, I'm aligned with this divine order of life.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know. I just feel like, especially now, like how you said, there's some people, I haven't really heard that, but that some people want to get more in touch with our African spirituality and traditions, so that they're saying that they want to do polygamous relationships. I've only seen it from the standpoint of like when I used to watch certain things on TV or see commercials and stuff, like Love and Hip Hop, I think, like they had a relationship like that. And so I always see like just the, to me, it just looks like toxic examples of it. And it's never with positive intent of we're going to make this work. I think the only person who I've seen who actually had intent behind it and they had structure and order was
Brother Polite.
Brother Polite, yeah. And if you guys don't know, look him up on YouTube. But they actually had a structure. But even within that structure, his first wife, it's still like, even with a polygamous relationship, from what I observed from that, is like the first wife still has rank. It's still not.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely.
Yeah. So
she's the mistress of the household.
Right. So like she runs that. So to me, it's still not. To me, I just don't think it's the most optimal way. But everyone, like, we're in this part of the world where you just do what you want to do. So go ahead. But to me, I just feel like it's not necessarily the most optimal because of that. I still think there's just a balance is still off within the household. Even if he provides everything financially, like there's a lot of situations where women are with men who provide for them financially, they're financially taken care of, but then in other aspects, emotionally, mentally, physically, they're lacking. So to me, when I think of marriage, when I think of family, when I think of relationships, it's more than just love. It's more than just loyalty. It's more than just respect. And then even further, when we talk about how that builds generational success or generational wealth, when we say wealth, we mean more than money as well. Like we want our children to have integrity, good morals. We want our children to be creative, hardworking, loving, you know, like it's just from, and Isaiah. Okay. So I'm a naturopathic doctor. So I come from like a holistic perspective, even when, like, whenever I think about treatment, I always go back to finding the cause of the problem before just treating symptoms. And so when I look at society today, that's why like we kind of have these discussions too, is because it's like, these are certain things that we see. And granted, you know, polygamy isn't legal in America, but like you guys said, people are pretty much doing it anyway right now. So when we look at the issues of society today, and especially our community, it's like, what is the cause? Because we're looking at we're talking about a lot of the symptoms. The symptoms are, you know, people being heartbroken, people being abused, neglected, children, you know, not being taken care of, and, you know, people like mothers being abandoned and left with, you know, no money, trying to get child support, things of that nature.
Those are the symptoms.
Those are all symptoms, but what is like the cause? And so I feel like some of the issues that or some of the discussions that we're bringing up are some of the causes.
Like systematic oppression.
Right. And that's another thing. The system was strategically made to destroy the Black family. And there's something I read, that I noticed because I volunteered at a women's shelter to do medicine. And when you think about like shelters, a lot of the shelters are just for women and children, like no men allowed. And I understand the concept, especially because of domestic abuse. So they're trying to, you know, protect them from the men. But there's also times where a family altogether is suffering. But in order for them to have shelter, the woman and child would have to be separated from the man.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's so huge. Even we talked about this last week too with welfare. The man had to leave the house. Now it says, you know, one person has to be out of the house. But before it specifically said men cannot live in the house with the women and children. So I think there's just something that we need to think about. And I know some people may not think that like it's a big deal or it matters, but there's a reason why they're trying to destroy the family unit, and they're trying to stop us from, you know, succeeding together, and they're trying to put men and women against each other.
Yeah, especially us. I mean, like she said, we are the original people. We do something, they follow. And being that we here, you know, we under a regime that, I mean, wouldn't want us to have that type of power.
Yeah. And it's just interesting. So let us know what you guys think in the comments. Are you guys for polygamy? Have you guys had an experience in a polygamous relationship? I want to know your thoughts. And for all of you guys who are just joining us, we are, this is the Power Trip Podcast. We're your hosts, Charmaine and Saquon.
This is the Thursday evening chat.
Yes.
So far, we've talked about sex before marriage, polygamy, as well as how it kind of ties in with generational wealth. And our guest, Isaiah Mystic. So, man, it's just, I don't know, it's just a lot. Because I get certain sides of it. I get the power and everything like that. But I guess I just don't agree with the polygamy side of it. I guess.
And I think it made more sense for our ancestors because of the environment and the lifestyle that they had. So it made more sense for like them to say, okay, I'm gonna have multiple wives for this structure that I'm trying to build because of the society we live in.
Yeah.
But today, I mean, we're just jacked up
and that's
with like just regular relationships. So adding more to like, I don't see it. Oh, hey Tawana. No experience with polygamy. I don't think I could handle it laugh out loud, but it is interesting concept and conversation. Thanks for having it. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's good now, because the morals of people. You have to be raised on a different type of standards.
Sorry, honey.
Solomon had Solomon had 1,000 wives and concubines, and he was one of God's favorites.
Yeah, well, I think.
But how did his life end? That's the question. How did his life end? What did it outcome of everything?
How did he die? How did he die? Who pulled the trigger? I want to know. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
But not. It's like, I guess, when it's all said and done, though, the morals of men today would not be able to handle that. Handle it polygamy. Ciaja says, is it fair to say that the authentic concept of polygamy is dated? Yeah, I think the authentic concept, it is dated. Like I'm saying, because we can't place that in today's society. Because
Go ahead.
the reason why I say that is because I don't feel like, even if a man thought to, right, the system that is here is against him being able to make enough to like actually take care of many women at a time. You get what I'm saying?
Kind of. I think he could. I do. I get what you're saying, where there's some systemic things put into place.
Mm-hmm.
I think I get that. But right now, I feel like some men can't even take care of one woman. So.
And that's what I'm saying. So if we in that position in this society where so many men can't even take care of one, you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Then it wouldn't be a viable situation to have multiple.
Yeah, but I think it's more than just the system on why some men aren't, taking care of their responsibilities.
So I'd like to chime in really quick. So when we use the words, specific words, we know that there is a programming, right? We want to respect that there is a programming and that there is a matrix that has been created and that is projected onto us through media, through institutions, through systems that programs us to feel and think certain ways about ourselves. Mm-hmm. But we want to also be able to separate the programming from what's actually true. So the truth is, every Black man, every Afro-Indigenous man in this country has every cellular capacity to provide and take care of their women. That's the truth. And I don't want to continue to make my men feel like or give power to a matrix that I know exists, and I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but I know the truth is that every Black man has a capacity to do it. It starts with our minds and what we are believing in and the things that we're consistently allowing ourselves to give power to and become our faith. Mm-hmm. So the issue is not so much in, because men aren't able to take care of one woman, they shouldn't have many women. It's that we're coming back into the truth of what and where our wealth comes from, what and where our abundance comes from, where our love comes from. Where does that come? If we're disconnected from the source of where that comes from, then when it's taken away from us, we feel cheated because we're like, wait, you took from us. We're unplugged. But the thing is, you can plug back in at any moment, at any given time. You can plug back in. And what people specifically in our community are desiring is that plug. We want the plug, not just the physical plug, right? Because that's temporary. If you don't spiritually plug in and you physically get in the plugs to these different ways to make money, it's never going to last. But when you spiritually plug in and you realize and understand that it's the earth's energy that nourishes you. It's the earth's energy that provides you with abundance. It's your soul merging with the earth's energy that allows for this flow of abundance to happen. Then nobody can take anything from you. Nobody can cheat you. Nobody can put you in a messed up predicament. Nobody can put you in jail. Nobody can arrest you. Nobody can do anything. You become untouchable. So it's really a matter of coming back to soul, coming back into our souls and bringing our souls into the earth, merging those two energies together. That creates the wealth in our, like how you said, we want to, it's more than finances, it's integrity, it's morals, it's having all of these different qualities. But where are these qualities coming from? It's coming from our source. It's coming from being plugged in. So men being able to plug in and go get it, like I said, go out there and get it in a balanced way and have the power and the status to be able to fulfill the women and children and create legacy comes from that sacral energy, comes from that womb energy. And the reason I bring up the earth in relationship to that is because we're living on a sacral planet. This planet is 70 something percent water. We're not living on majority earth. We're living on majority water. This entire realm operates off of sacral energy, creative life force energy. So when men are, I don't want to say specifically men, but it's a balance that is to be had within our spiritual body of where this wealth and power and abundance is flowing from and coming from. Can you plug back into your soul? Can you plug back into your source? Because I know plenty Black men right now who killing it, who killing the game. I just have to laugh sometimes because I think about it and I'm just like, man, I'm proud of them, because they've brought I can tell that they're living through their soul and they're not living through any false programs or paradigms of what it means to make money, and be wealthy. And I think that also has a lot to do with why, that post went so viral with I think his name is Kevin Samuels.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't respect him very much at all. So that's why I'm doing all that. But the post I think that's why that video that he did went so viral, because there are a lot of men who don't believe in themselves, who don't think that they can make six figures or, make more than six figures, or even just in receiving money or finances. It's like such a daunting, struggling task to be able to do that. It's like impossible, because the past, and the things that we've been through in the past have caused us to feel that way about ourselves. But it's 2021. You can make money any way, any possible way, literally any kind of way that you want to. We are living in the most abundant, prosperous, free, like this is one of the most best times to be alive, really. And nothing is holding us back but our minds. That's the reality of it.
I definitely agree. Can we read the comments really quick?
Yeah, let's read the comments.
Okay, go ahead.
Which one you want to start from?
Thomas. Right after Duana.
Okay.
I meant Chris. Sorry.
Chris. Chris said, as far as polygamy was concerned, he said, too lazy for that right now. Laugh out loud. Seriously, the mental energy that it takes to be in a polygamous relationship is not sustainable as we get older in life. Let's see. Thomas was saying happy. Chris said even Solomon could not keep his mental faculty as he got older. Ciaja says, because if two emotionally, financially, and mentally sound individuals join the matrimony, there will be no need for added individual. Generational wealth is still very attainable, which I agree with. Do you want to go on?
Thomas says, polygamy is only partly about financing the relationship. It's much bigger than finance. Plus, if it's solely about financing, then I wouldn't even consider polygamy. I just date several women. Ciaja said, what's the bigger part, Thomas? Thomas said, raising the next generation and building the community. Ciaja, choose up or lose up. Tea time. Ciaja said, very much doable between one man and one woman. And then Thomas says, I didn't say it wasn't. Polygamy is just another option. And then Miss Juanita says, how can the feminine help the masculine? Can you touch on that dynamic? Interesting. Before you speak on that, I just wanted to say I truly agree with what you're saying, that mindset is huge. The mind is powerful. And I was saying this last week too, that I feel like we're so detached from nature. And going back to kind of just like naturopathic medicine, like, or just medicine in general, like if you think of the placebo effect, giving somebody like a sugar pill, they can heal themselves. And that just shows like the power of your mind. Yeah. Because you thought you were taking something, but you weren't, and you were able to heal. And then also when you're saying connecting back with the earth, where there's something that we recommend to patients, which is called earthing or grounding, which you may be familiar with. And it's basically the electromagnetic energy of the earth connecting with the body. And it's like recharging us. Studies have shown it decreases inflammation. It increases just like overall better like mood. Like it helps decrease depression. Like it's super healing. So I do agree that we are very detached, and that, you know, even though we understand the systemic things that are going on, we have to understand that we have the power. Yeah. Like everything we need is within us.
Yeah.
So,
and the grounding thing is real, people. We did it a few times where we would go at night and we would be laying in the grass. We just go lay in the grass for about an hour or so before it was time to come back and go to sleep. And I mean, the type of rest that I got.
Ooh, it felt good, huh?
Yeah.
I just imagined it.
It's just something completely different. And at that point, I wouldn't add any more music for the night or anything. It's just me, myself, and peace. Yeah. You know?
It's just and they even say, which we should know, but like just going out into nature, like that's nature therapy. Like there is healing effects to just being outside. And I feel like we're going towards a way where we have the virtual reality, everybody's on their computer and, you know, connecting that way. We're so disconnected. And I mean, you know, not to blame it on anything, but I think it's part of the plan, because even, what's his name, who did Apple, Steve Jobs, he would limit his children on how long they were able to be on their phones for 2 hours. They were only allowed to be on it for 2 hours a day because he knows the psychological effects of being in your phone, and it destroys your retina. Like there's just so many different things. So we do have to reclaim our power, as you were stating, and just realize that hope is not gone. Like you can do it. Black men, we love you, we support you, and you are so powerful. Black women, you as well. Yeah, and so it's go ahead, baby. Okay. We just have to be united together and lift each other up to move forward.
Now I was just about to say, so I guess in all of that being said, to answer Cia's question as far as the authentic concept being outdated, it's not necessarily outdated. We just have to be back to who we were for it to be possible.
What, polygamy?
I know you don't agree with it. No. But in the case
Not
of the
for me.
authentic concept, as from what we that if is right from what we learned today.
Right. For whoever wants to do it and has that intention behind it and is comfortable with that, I think anything can work in any realm.
Yeah, as long as you put the work in, I guess it can work.
It can work for you, but I don't.
But can you touch on the dynamics of how the feminine can help the masculine?
Yes, I can. So, a great way that the feminine can help the masculine is by being feminine. You can start there. A lot of women are, so we want to separate mothering from femininity. Let's separate that, because a lot of times women equate being nurturing, motherly is the same thing as being feminine, and it's not. Hi, my baby's up. She's gonna crawl over here at any moment. But yeah, we want to separate being motherly from being feminine. I feel like a lot of women try to help men by coddling them, controlling, making sure that they, ate today, and like they do a lot of things that a mother would do for their child. And that's not necessarily what the masculine needs from the feminine. They don't need a mom. They need feminine energy. And feminine energy is inspiring. Just her being feminine. Come here. Come here. Oh. But yeah, just her being feminine. And so one key factor is, are you taking care of yourself? Like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you making sure that you are feeling your best, looking your best, at your best? That's feminine. I feel like a lot of women downplay just feeling good and looking good. That's very important. Just when a woman walks into a room, a woman who takes very good care of herself walks into a room, she done stimulated all of the whole man kundalini, his whole body erect. He got to sit up straight. You know what I'm saying? It's like just that little thing, just did so much. And just knowing how to use that, and not necessarily use it like a tool to manipulate, but use it because you understand your own influence, you understand your own power, just like how you were saying how men do have an influence in wooing a woman when they're courting her, and they do have an influence in being able to kind of like take her past that point, if she's not grounded in her own energy. So it's like the same way, in your feminine energy, in you loving yourself and taking care of yourself and uplifting yourself, you will inspire him. Just in you doing that, you will inspire him. In you being in your sensualness, in your creative flow, in your creative energy, you will stimulate something in him that he didn't know was there before. So that's like the main thing that I feel like helps the masculine so much. There are so many men who are used to being around masculine women that they kind of just, when they do get around a feminine woman, it's like like a slave to her or something. I don't know what it is, but learning how to be more feminine and less in that masculine energy when you are around men is a game changer. It's really important. It's that'll do the trick.
So I agree. I definitely think part of the feminine energy is inspiration and an encourager. But so I get separating motherhood from feminine energy. But so you don't think as like being feminine is still being nurturing? Is that what you're saying? I just want to clarify.
I do. So being feminine is definitely a nurturing energy.
Right. Okay.
But we want to reserve that energy for our children who need it and our men who need a different kind of
nurturing.
Yeah, they need a different kind of loving. I wouldn't even call it a nurturing per se, but it's because he's grown. He's grown already. He's a man, you know? So it's not like you're growing something, you're watering something, you're growing this man.
But aren't you, if like you're bringing out something in him that he didn't even know he possessed, like that inspiration, that encouragement, that support, that like isn't that watering him? Like you're feeding into him still. You get what I'm saying?
It's there
Yeah,
already.
you can definitely look at it that way. I just want to make sure I'm drawing a line between a man being your child and him being your man.
That
so
is
I'm
very
definitely wanting to make that clear. But yes, definitely, you know,
that is true.
that feminine energy is gonna water the whole everything down. Sorry.
Juanita says you can't raise a man.
Very true. We had
a big discussion about that one.
Yeah, that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, where a lot of people disagree that a woman can't raise a man.
Well, it was in a different sense. So she's saying, you know, also you can't raise a grown man. Like it can't be your mother. But since we were talking about it, and also, and you're right, but since we were also talking about it was, can a single mother raise a young boy into a man? And we were saying we don't believe she can because she's not a man. So how can you raise someone to be,
It is different. You're right.
Yeah. So how can you raise a young boy to be a man when that's not you? And we had a single mom on, and she was like, you know, I am raising my child to be a man. And, you know, I thought about it because at first I was like, you're raising him to be a nice, young, compassionate person, but can you really raise him to be a man? But then I was like, I don't know her, you know, situation. She could have male role models and, you know, around him and things like that. But that like it really went back and forth, and a lot of women believe you can raise a young boy to be a man as a single mother without male influence.
Yeah, and I mean, I just feel like, I guess even on this sense, it is different. But I think it goes back to like the child too. It's things that a woman is not supposed to be there to do for a man, and a woman is not supposed to be there to do for her male child either.
Right. Everything's a balance. And I think both men and women are needed when raising a child, because whether it's a boy or a girl.
True. And Thomas, to answer, well, Thomas asks, what about raising a woman? I feel like that always gets left out. After that night, I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I don't believe that a woman can fully raise a woman to be a woman. And I don't think a man can raise a boy to be a man either by himself. So it's all across, like it's even all across the board, if you ask me.
Yeah. And if you're also talking about a grown
and
woman,
the man, yeah.
No, you can't raise a grown woman too.
But that's what, sorry for cutting you off. But that's where some things kind of get, you know, a little mixed up, because then we hear stuff where a man should be courting a woman probably 10 years younger than him, and at that point, he wants someone that he's molding. So in a way, is he not raising her, like in a way teaching her to do what he want her to do?
Well, I don't think that it's a man's like.
It's not his responsibility.
I don't think that's his job or like his. I think you can help guide somebody, and you can kind of help introduce things that help them discover themselves. I don't think it's necessarily about you raising or telling somebody that this is how you should be. This is the things I want you to do.
Yeah.
You can introduce things and you can discuss things, but ultimately you can't change anyone but yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So put it this way. Do you think that a male can guide a woman into her femininity? Or feminine energy?
Okay. Do I think a man can guide a woman into her femininity? I think that living, I mean, honestly, growing up, you're gonna have the influence of course your parents initially. They're gonna influence you, but really, I mean, to me it takes a village to raise a child, and it's it's never gonna be one person that's ever gonna be able to fully raise somebody into who they are, and understanding their femininity or masculinity. So, I do think men can influence a woman's journey into her femininity. Me personally, I feel like I was raised by men that were also understanding, trying to understand their masculinity, and from that it led me to really not understand my own femininity. I was, a lot of times told things, by my fathers, like, a man is always going to cheat on you, so you got to make sure that you just don't catch no feelings, because that's just gonna happen. Like, I was told things like that. And so in that way, I feel like if a man is balanced in his masculinity, if he's acting in his, from his heart, and really balanced in his sacred masculine energy, which was really the chest area. I was talking about the heart, but is feminine. But just before you get to the heart, this is like that Superman. That's where they put the S on the chest, right? That's where you put your chest out. That's where you're coming into the world, and you're coming from such a heart-centered place. And I think when a man is coming from this place and guiding a woman, it's going to be very easy for her to be in her feminine energy, because she's going to know how to be treated, number one, by men. And she's also going to know how to treat herself, because this man is also likely to attract women who are balanced in their feminine energy, who carry themselves a certain way. So I think if you're balanced in your own feminine and masculine energy, being a man or a woman, you can definitely lead your children, even if you're single in the matter, like raising them, you can definitely attract those influences into their life, even on their own, if they were to just attract it on their own. I believe I feel like a lot of the relationships, of course, that I attracted had a lot to do with my relationship to my parents and their relationship to themselves. So I do recognize, well, if they would have carried themselves like this, or if they would have carried themselves like that, my whole mind state, I would have been attracting different things. I know it. I would have been on just attracting balanced situations. So to answer your question, I do believe that, even if you're a single mom or a single dad, if you're balanced in your own feminine and masculine energy, you can definitely lead your child into a balanced their own balance.
Okay. Right. And I think like our whole point was because we feel like a lot of things start at home, so we're trying to get the house in order, and so to speak. So it's like you said, a lot of the things that you encountered were because of how the foundation was.
Yeah.
And I do agree, and we both agree that it does take a village. We know, like, our parents, aunts, uncles, the people in our tribe are going to have influence on our children, but we want to make sure that we're the best that we can be, so that first influence that they do have, that foundational influence from us, is healthy.
Yeah, as healthy as possible.
Right. Thomas said, oh, you put these up. I think it's situational. I just raised the question because the default seems to be a woman raising a man in a relationship, as if this woman is fully grown and the man is still a child. That's true. That's been the conversation.
Yeah, that is
typically
the
as
conversation.
like if the man is the issue.
Well, you know what though? It is given like that, and most of the time, when we look at relationships, the ages are pretty much equal. But when we look at what we've been talking about, a woman wouldn't treat a child like a man like that if he was 10 years older than her.
That's an interesting point.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, just because that age difference in that time, I guess, wisdom that he has. That's interesting. Let's see. She said, Mommy says, I feel in that case, Saquon, the man or woman is supporting each other into their own greatness by being encouraging and supportive, even to the point of assisting to propel them to reach their highest level. Symbiotic relationship produces a sacred love. Very true.
True.
And then let's see. T-Time says, I like her. She's spitting. Sometimes laugh aloud. My sister always told me to be aware of the relationship between the women you're dating and her parents, and the relationship between the parents themselves. That's another huge thing. And that's something I was thinking about. I didn't mention it, but when we were talking about like sex before marriage, because when they were talking about, oh, well, if you wait, then you don't know, like you rush to get married and then you don't know the person. But I think that is something huge, is people, like, literally when you marry somebody, you are kind of marrying their family.
True.
Whether you want to believe it or not. And if you look at and it doesn't have to be that you have to deal with the family, even though I think it would be beneficial for families to deal with each other. But if you look at their parents and you look at how they were raised and you look at kind of their lineage, it can kind of tell you a little bit of a story about that person. Now, caveat, we all grow, we all change, and we all elevate. Well, we all aim to elevate, or should try to. So you may not necessarily still be in the state that your family's in. True. Mentally, spiritually, physically. You know what I'm saying?
You could be the one to become balanced, when everyone else isn't.
Right. So, but I do think it is important to note, the family dynamic, the family picture, how were you raised, how were you treated, all of that, because it does play a factor in who you are as a person.
True.
So I agree, T-Time.
True. He said, I think it's a lot of old brothers out here getting treated like boys because that's what they used to. And you're right. It's because what they used to. I was talking about it in the sense of, I guess, a man trying and then still getting dogged by a woman, at like acting like he a child. But you're right. It's
like if a younger woman's dating an older man, he could still get. He's saying she could still get treated.
Yeah.
Like a boy.
He could still get treated like a boy because he used to it. That's what he liked. He almost liked getting treated like that.
I don't know if they like it, but it's I think
do like
subconsciously.
Subconsciously, he likes it because he's not gonna tap into the energy that he needs to tap into, step outside of that.
I don't think that means he likes it, but it's just because that's like women who keep attracting abusive relationships. I don't think they like it, but it's something internally that they haven't dealt with, that it's kind of sometimes people attach to their trauma. And so without that, it's like they make it part of their story. So when we're talking about mindset, and you were saying, like, your mind is super powerful and you can plug back in. it's like when you sometimes you just I don't know. It's like you don't know what you don't know.
It's something
You
in
don't
there
deal
like,
with it. Go ahead.
but I believe that it's something within them that like you keep attracting to the wrong person, right? It's something about that person that you subconsciously enjoy, but you shouldn't. You get what I'm saying? It's like, I'm telling you, it's like somebody that do drugs. They shouldn't do drugs, but it's something within them that keeps them going back to that. They're addicted to that. That's their thing. You get what I'm saying?
But is that an enjoyment? I think it's just the terminology. I
They-
get the attraction to it. I just don't think it's an enjoyment.
the feeling that they're doing it, this escape that they're getting from it, they're enjoying that. But the detriment that's coming behind it, you know,
So you're saying it's like a temporary
fix.
gratification.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's something. Yeah, like I'm saying, like a girl that go out and meet a guy in a club that does the same things, you know, that the last one did. It's something about this guy that attracted her from jump before she finds out that he's not the best.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of understand what you're saying. Chris said it's familiar to them. I also just think it's part of like the energy you put out is the energy that you attract. So if you don't ever fix what's going on internally, you're going to keep attracting that. And I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's an enjoyment just because it's like, how can you enjoy trauma? But I think people attach to it. So, yeah, do you have any thoughts on that before we wrap up?
Yeah, I feel like we definitely do have energy signatures that will create dynamics in our lives that, like how I was mentioning, you know, the fact that was raised by people that had a certain energy signature. I feel like I took on that energy signature. So it's really interesting too, because when we think about the law of attraction, and you know, if you guys have ever learned about the law of attraction or read about the law of attraction, my question would always be, you know, because people would just be, well, you are what you attract. You attract what you are. You are what you attract. And so then I get to thinking about, well, what about the children? You mean children just are out here attracting, you know, bad stuff's happening to them, you know, rape, molestation, whatever, you know, things that should just never happen to children, right? So my mind would go there. And then when my mind went there, I ended up attracting the answer to my question of how this, you know, in relationship to the law of attraction, how this plays out when, you know, babies are being birthed into the world and their circumstances and what they attract just growing up. Because me personally, you know, I had experienced trauma as a child. So I'm like, you mean to tell me I just attracted this? Like, you know, give me some more here.
Right.
And I realized that the people that you are around, your parents, you know, normally it's your parents, the people who are raising you are telepathically giving you these energy signatures. So basically, like if your parents are carrying an energy. Oh, you want some goldfish? Okay, we're gonna eat goldfish in a couple minutes. But the energetic signature that you carry basically goes into the energetic body of your children and their energy. So when that child grows up or goes out into the world, now they're carrying the same energetic signature of, you know, how whatever you were carrying when you were raising them, whether that be, you know, you had really low self-worth, felt like you had to control people for this, that, and the third. That's why it's important that we have conversations like this, you know, because this ends up being a segue into change and recognizing those patterns, those what they call generational curses, which is really just programs that never get decoded and recoded. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. You know, people definitely attract people based off of these signatures. So yeah, my baby, she's ready. She's ready.
Girl, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a wonderful conversation, and we enjoyed all of your knowledge and your input. So yes, everyone, if you want to tell everyone where they can follow you before you get off, go ahead, and then we'll also link your website in the description below.
Yes, definitely. So you guys can follow me and find me on Facebook and Instagram at Asaya Mystic. It's spelled just like how it's spelled in the little box right there. And yeah, and you can also sign up for my 7-day challenge that is starting on February 21st, the 7 Commandments of Love, where we are going to be just like I was just mentioning, we're going to be decoding these programs and recoding aligned frequencies that are actually in alignment with who we actually are and what we came here to do. So yeah, that's gonna be at the end of the month. So make sure you sign up for that and book a free self-love lightning consultation call if you feel called to do so. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having me and inviting me on here. I really enjoyed this talk. And the vibes. It was really cute to just watch you guys go back and forth every now and then about topics. Oh my god, they're so cute. But yeah, I'm so grateful to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We really appreciate this. This was so great.
Yes, it was. Oh, and I love your Black Panther too. It's the perfect symbol.
Yes. Oh, I love your logo. It's the bomb.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, have a good night.
Okay. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. And everyone, we appreciate you all for joining us. Please make sure you guys like, subscribe, and just let us know if there's any other topics that you want us to discuss. What did you guys think about tonight's topic and our guest? And we just appreciate you for joining the conversation. Our goal is to get these conversations going so we can expand our minds. Also, we want to... Sorry. Also,
no, but yeah. But our 3 main goals with the podcast is to strengthen communication skills in our communication, to expand our perspectives, so that we can gain a greater understanding for ourselves and others. And last but most importantly, just to build exceptional families that will continue to uplift the world around us. You know, just want to create a better atmosphere because you know we trying to bring kids into this world and things like that. And I mean, you know, we are, right?
We definitely are. We all have to be the change that we want to see.
Yeah.
And as we discussed tonight, the things that we do are going to affect the generations to come.
Correct.
So we always, you know, like we all want the world to be better than, you know, leave it better than we had it. So. Yep. All right. Well, we love you all. And
thank you for joining us tonight.
For joining. Have a wonderful night.
See you guys next week.
Yes, sir.